That
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Spin Rack. I'm here with the boys, Petey and Cal. Say what's up, gents.
what up?
Ready to rock.
Hey, today we're going to be tackling a very controversial and difficult subject that people have been talking about, the MCU. Look, I'm not even going to lie about this. I am totally on a different fence than these guys. I'm just going to let Petey set it up, and we'll get right into it right now. Petey, hit us with it.
No, I just in the
And
last
you were wrong on what you said about that before, and so we're not even going to go there. All right,
what that you just
Cal.
wait a second. They didn't even let me set it up. Well,
Oh,
we should be talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, but at the same time, we're gonna keep it Marvel. We're gonna stay in the Marvel vein, and we're gonna talk about the MCU. But you didn't hear Mars correctly. He meant the MCU.
you
The
heard me correctly.
she
I said it correctly.
said it pretty. You went pretty quickly. We couldn't hear that you were saying the she part, which is the hard part to say is that. And why I wanted to do an episode on this is because people balked back and said, "Hey, they're just upset with people creating female characters and not being like this toxic, masculinity thing where guys are just complaining about something they shouldn't complain about." And I would just be, let's just be fair, right? Even if you consider the She-Hulk a offshoot of the Hulk, I would say the She-Hulk is a character in and of itself. So that would be an MCU character. But when you go to the Scarlet Scarab, which was a character that was not female, not connected to Moon Knight, so that would be the MCU. We're going to add a female character that was not introduced, not a part of it. And then I'm sorry to say, you have a movie and you change the male character into female characters. Like, sorry to say, Black Panther, the MCU. We go to Thor with the Love and Thunder, and Jane. Even though there's a comic book about it, MC they're going this slant, and I can't just go around there and allow people to just tear apart stuff where it's not the same as Black Widow and her sister, because obviously they've all been in there. This is just saying, hey, you got Loki, we got Sylvie, MCU. There you go. That's what, and they have it. It would be female Loki. She would just be called Loki. They say no, she needs a girl name for some reason. They're trying to add this thing, and yes, some people can. I can say most people. Some people connect to Sylvie for some reason, but at the same time, it is a slant that they're going that we can't escape. And this is not going to Captain Marvel, Scarlet Witch. I already said the She-Hulk. Any characters, Black Widow, Wasp. These are characters that were already here, set up. Not saying, "Here we're going to have another legacy character." And then they say, "Well, you got the Falcon." What we have the Flag Smasher in the comic was a guy. The lead Flag Smasher, female. So that is my. Um, Cal, do you have anything to say on this?
Yes, yes, I do.
What do you have to say?
This is Marvel's own fault. It's of their own making, and they are. What's the old saying? The biblical saying? Okay, if you reap the wind, or rather, if you sow the wind, you will inherit the whirlwind, or something like that. These guys decided that they. It started with Endgame when we had that ridiculous shot with all the chicks together, and they were playing the music. Sisters are doing it for themselves. They had that nonsense going on. Everybody's like, okay, but then there was this direct drive where we are going to promote these female characters, you know, exponentially. Okay, well, at the same time, giving the male characters the gear, and you still have an audience. Your audience is populated by a majority of guys. Comics are still read majority by men. And so you want that audience to still want to tune in, and they have done everything in their power to say, no, you guys don't necessarily need to tune in. This is the next phase. Phase four has nothing to do with you. Then you get that's what I mean. It's a derisive term at the end of the day. Don't get me wrong. No doubt about it. But you've got plenty of evidence, to throw at it. I mean, probably even before Endgame, the whole thing with Brie Larson and Captain Marvel, and she made a whole bunch of off the cuff comments, so on and so forth, that were not taken well. And then the whole idea with, oh, Captain Marvel is the most powerful superhero in the MCU. Then my brother's like, wait a minute, what happened to Thor? She just got here. Okay, so all of those missteps, and then so you get the derisive name here, but it's not like you didn't earn it.
Yeah, and sorry to add, I'd add the what is it? The what's the name? The Taskmaster, MCU. Regretfully, since they're going on this slant, I would save Ms. Marvel, but Kate Bishop, I'm sorry, it's too similar to Hawkeye, and there's no reason to retire Hawkeye, so I'm putting it in that category too. The hard part of it is I don't want to do these things. The people just immediately say, hey, people are being upset when they're female characters that I would love to see them do series on, which they don't, which they're saying, you know what, we got to wait for this other movie. We want to do Monica Rambeau. We got to wait because we got to introduce Cal Danvers first, but they never had a connection. Never, So like, we got to wait for this before we can do this other thing. So then they're forced to force these other things into us, which is, neither, it's not complaining about America Chavez. It's complaining about the guy, the girl version of the guy characters when you already have these characters set up to do things, to do movies with, Jeremy Renner is a movie guy. So why not figure, a movie that you could do with him? And the other thing with Black Widow, there was a ton of cool villains that I think in the thing that Marvel shelved that was in Marvel fanfare for the Widow that Perez started, a ton of villains that they could have used that looked like they were real visuals. So that's just my opinion of it. And I just don't want people just go around and say, hey, this is just toxic masculinity run wild, getting upset that the girls are getting these stories and whatnot. It's just like, wouldn't it be more powerful if we did this story of Hela's Curse, like after the last movie, Thor was going through this stuff, so you didn't have to do Fat Thor. You could have Thor going through the struggle where he was at, and then we get to the end of this, where he gets to the God Killer, and we have this big monumental battle where Thor is going through this thing. But I mean, giving away the story from the comic books, I think Simonson's last story, this thing where the God Killer could, pound, Thor in the dust because he had brittle bones, but there was one hook that was left, and that's where the hero part of the story comes from. So, that story couldn't, instead of adding as many characters as you possibly can, I'm sorry to say, you could have gotten rid of Jane Foster's Thor and done because they already strip mined a lot of Simonson's stories for Ragnarok. Like, why not just keep Thor in there? And if you do something where it was a Thor, more of a source story, not Thor and friends story, you wouldn't have Chris Hemsworth thinking, hey, can we do an end of Thor story? Can I get my story where I get to leave? So we get a full end chapter for him so I can move on? It's like, that's not how it works. It's like, we're not supposed to see old Cap. We're not supposed to see, what's the name, die. But, at the same time, I don't know. Well, I guess.
We're not supposed to have the female character comes in. Keep setting her up in the same way to be just like, because she shows up and she's better than everybody. She shows up, she hasn't gone through anything, she hasn't been put through the paces, and every single one of the male characters had to do that. They had 2 or 3 films where they messed up, they had to make these particular mistakes, they righted it, so on and so forth. I mean, Tony Stark made some huge screw-ups. Mm-hmm. And then we get to the ultimate sacrifice in Endgame. And with a lot of the female characters, they show up and they make a point of showing, look how great she is. She's better than this guy everywhere. Even with the little bit that they decided to do on She-Hulk with the training, I'm like, yeah, but you don't need to do all of that because all it does is feed the hate machine at the end of the day. They're looking for it, and you keep giving it to them. But there were too many examples of that stuff. There were too many examples of it going on, and here we are at the end of the day. So now what do you do? You're still the biggest draw on the block, but you soften your base because, and I told you guys this off camera, all the guys still want to see this stuff. The guys who are the detractors and the guys who are the supporters, the one thing they have in common is they do want to go out and still see a superhero movie and enjoy it, but they're so busy bickering with each other over this particular direction, you're going to end up softening what base you have with people who come out there. And if the whole idea is, well, we're going to check some boxes and we're going to get more women in the seat, no, you're not. Because this is not something historically that women have ever embraced so hard. Yes, you do have women who enjoy this stuff, but it's always been predominantly male. And there's no reason that's going to change because of the foundation of what these things are. So make it right, and you'll lose this particular title. Don't make it right, and you will always look at Phase 4 as the day that you guys took something good and wrong.
Okay, so I guess we are totally right. Ours is totally wrong.
I'm gonna say there are definitely elements of correctness of what you guys are saying. Okay, but they're also the problem being, and we've had this conversation ad nauseum. So going over it again, MCU, MCU, whatever you want to call it. It's the fact of the matter is that they're trying to grab a female base, and they're getting these characters, and yes, they're moving them faster than others have because they're trying to get them involved in be as equal or at least equal to the current characters that are there. Do I agree the fact that they now say that many of these characters are stronger, smarter than many of the male characters that have been there for quite a long time? No, I'm not necessarily agree. Especially they haven't done enough development with those characters, which I do agree with Cal. But at the same hand, you got to understand that there has to be to get more female characters in there. You're going to have to give them a quick push, to get into that whole universe. So there's much more females in the show, in the stories that we're seeing right now, and powerful females at that, right? If we look at what we had before in the original Avengers, we only had Black Widow, and she was not that. She was a street level fighter. She's not on the level of Iron Man and Thor or anything like that. So
she doesn't need to be.
If we want to get somebody up, we're gonna have to give them a little boost up.
No, that's the mistake they keep making. In Black Panther, there was this line Shuri made to, I think it was it wasn't in Black Panther. I think it was in Infinity War. Shuri made some line. I think they're trying to do something with the Vision, and Tony Stark is there or Bruce Banner's there, and Shuri makes the line. So like, why didn't you guys just do this? And then they both look like, oh, well, we never thought of that. This, that, and the other. I thought that was just a throwaway line. These guys seized on that. They were like, wait a minute, you got two of the smartest guys on the planet, and you're saying they never thought of it? Okay, and it wasn't so much that what she said wasn't contributory. It was taken as that somehow she was smarter than the two of these guys who, you got Tony Stark who just sorted out time travel, and he couldn't he would overlook this type of stuff, Bruce Banner along with them. And that's the mistake that they kept making. You want to jumpstart this dude? Okay. No issue with there, but that's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. But then you're paying leapfrog over established characters. And it's a very basic male thing, too. You don't get credit for showing up. It's got to be earned. You want that status, you want the respect, you've got to earn it. Doesn't matter how good you are, you've got to put the time in. Right? And if you're not putting in the time in, okay, great. Guys don't give you any regard. And then you get all this backbiting, you get all of this hating, and for what? Simply because you skipped to the line. And they skipped more than a few times.
It's a story. What are you talking about? People skip to the line in all stories all the time. Tell me what you want a character to do. First go into a comic book, and then go into a TV show, and then do the show. I mean, for goodness sakes, you're a producer of a movie. You want to get this bad boy out.
How about
I don't disagree with you.
How about like these other characters that you actually get to make some appearances first, and you get the character established a little bit, and then after your character is established
a little bit mean?
Then you can get them. Then you can
what
get
does
them
that mean?
Establish a just showing up and getting the moment.
I'm asking the question. What does establish a little bit mean?
The problem was he was still talking, and you just so it just came like two trains like running into each other. But we somehow still able to go. You cut him off. Now, if you want to ask a question, you can ask your question. Good Lord.
I'm saying, what does establish mean? Okay? And look, and for all of you guys out there, I agree. I don't think that you should automatically be smarter than Mr. Fantastic or Iron Man. That's a little bit nuts. I agree that there has to be, a progression or something. But there's also geniuses that just come out, who at one point just jump over a whole bunch of people. So we're not going to disagree about that.
What
But
example?
what is your progression? But the
What's
question
your
I asked
example of
you,
a genius who comes out
no,
and
but
just
you
jumps
haven't
over?
answered my
What's your
question. I said,
example?
what is your progression? I want to know what is your progression
Well,
for a
I
character?
gave my progression while you were talking over me.
What was the progression?
I gave it while you were talking
Please
over me.
repeat it then. Let's hear what it says. I like to hear
No,
that.
anybody else, we just run back the tape, and then all the viewers, they can
Nobody's gonna
struggle
run
to
back the
listen.
tape. Just say it, and then we can move forward.
They can struggle to listen as you rudely talked over me and didn't let me finish my point.
Oh my goodness! What
if you think Mars was being exceptionally rude in that moment, please leave your comments. Leave your comments.
Please leave your comments. Again, I asked the question. Let's go. I'm listening to you now.
You come in, you're a supporting character. Okay, you support the main characters. Okay, that character gets built up. The audience gets to know you. Okay, gets to react to you. Gets to, actually like you. Then you get your moment. As opposed to you show up, you get your moment.
Well, this is the thing. If you can always do a great supporting cast story, right? But that's within 120 issues of the main story, right? So like Alicia gets like 2 stories where she's like got the real highlight in there in the story where she's the linchpin of the stories. But at the same time, you don't turn around in issue 400 of the Fantastic Four. She's the leader now because she's, like, hey, now she's even smarter, like with her sculpting skills, she can sense more than what Reed Richards can do. So she's actually a better leader, whereas people were kind of leaning, I think in the Falco run, they were trying to lean towards Reed becoming like the science officer and Sue, who had all this passion, be like the leader. You can see one of the covers where she's in the lead and Reed is on the side and torch and thing. And at the same time, I think which is what I think Englehart did, which I'm not a fan of most of the stuff. When Reed comes back and then is like, he's like, I'm still a leader, right? And he's like, yeah, it's not a problem. Ultimately, Reed would just ultimately assume leadership again. It would just slowly get back to him, which is what happened. Like slowly, just like in like the next issue, he was leader again. So that's ultimately what you can do. You can't throw in these people to show that, hey, we're gonna have Hawkeye here, and then when we have with Kate Bishop, she's gonna shoot the arrow and make a trick shot and say, wow, I didn't learn how to do that until I was 35. And it's just like that. This storytelling, like solving your developing script.
Malpractice. It's storytelling malpractice.
Yeah. Doing the dialogue is terrible.
And I actually like Hawkeye. Overall, I like that particular series. I thought that was probably one of the strong ones that came out with. But they keep making those missteps where the ingenue shows up, okay, and it's out. Oh, I'm better than the veteran. Oh wow, I had, like you just said, I was never able to. Oh, that was our second season of Superman when they had Supergirl backfist Superman into the air, and all the guys were like, well, maybe Superman was holding back, and they had to make him say, he was like, oh no, Kara, okay, you whipped my ass fair and square. I wasn't holding back. I was going full out. There's no way I could ever contend with you. That was the last episode I watched. I never watched that. I didn't watch another episode. I was like, I don't understand. Why does he have to come over and take a back seat to Supergirl when at the end of the day, this show is going to end and he's still going to be Superman and everybody understands what that means. Well, in this universe, she's stronger. Okay, she can be stronger. Does he need to get back-fisted by her? No. They keep thinking that the only way to show, and they also seem to forget that some of these characters, a whole bunch of them, even though they're still heroes, they're supporting characters. They're not lead characters. So what are you, a superhero? You're still on the Avengers. You're a supporting character. Yeah, great. You got these particular powers. People think you're cool. You're not the lead. Okay, this guy over here with the super soldier serum who can't fly, he's still the lead character, even though you've got better powers. And that's the way that it works. So as much as they're like, oh, this, that, no, you can have great power. You're still a supporting character. Supporting characters get their moments here and there. Everybody's still coming in for the lead. And they don't seem to, like, maybe the viewership doesn't seem to understand that. Well, hey, she's a great hero. No, she's not. She's got cool powers. Okay, what has she done to show that she's a great hero? She just showed up. Now, I know Mars has no problem with that, because as long as it's in a skirt, hey, it's all good.
I totally disagree. I think when you guys say side characters can't become leading characters, and people are not.
That's not it.
I think that's exactly what.
If you're gonna do Jimmy Olsen stories, you can do Jimmy Olsen stories. You can turn Jimmy Olsen, give him like they turn into monsters all the time, but he was still more often than not, Jimmy Olsen, not hey Superman, saving Superman's behind every other issue that was in the comic book. Like I'm not. There might be one, but it's like not turned into wow, Jimmy. You're even a better reporter than I am. I'm like, wow, I read your report, and wow, you're just brilliant. And it's like,
Jimmy, you know what I really need to do? I need to get a signal watch so I can get you to help me.
so that's the hard thing to do. Like, obviously, a lot of supporting characters you have Cheers and you have the Frasier Show, right? And they created a new dynamic for him to re-interact, saying his family, his father would be normal, his brother would be more neurotic than him, and then they have a character that, they had the other characters that set up in the show. So that is not what we're saying. What we're saying is this jump start, this is say, and how do we explain how this character works? We're going to say that on the back of an established character. Hey, here's the Hulk, and we're going to show the She-Hulk. I ain't done nothing ever. I'm just using my effect against the Hulk, and I'm close to. I could possibly win this fight. I'd assure, the young bull against the old thing, and it's just like, yeah, there is some things of that. But when you have no skills, that doesn't come into play. You can be the young person fighting against the old, but if you have no skills and you have in the same weight class, you're just going to get beat down. So
and don't feed the hate machine. Stop doing those stupid lines. I know all about controlling my rage because I've had to live as a woman. I've had to deal every day with people saying this and having to smile. And they're like, no, wait a second. The Hulk and being a woman, two totally different things. And if you're saying that being a woman is equivalent to having this raging monster inside of you that you need to somehow control, that's a problem. And not necessarily good for women. But don't do this stuff. Don't give the hate machine, because all they do is they put it on loop. They come over here, they feed it, and a lot of people are low information when it comes to the things that they're going to tune into. So if they may tune into this show, this hate show that's over here scolding you for stuff, and all they're taking is a couple of seconds of the show, and that's enough. Guys will be like, okay, I'm checking out. That's how I felt about. I watched something, and they made it seem like Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness was. Oh, what did they say? Oh, it's woke crap and all the this, that, and the other, and the female characters. And I watched it. And I was like, no, this wasn't bad. This was actually pretty entertaining. I enjoyed that overall. But if I didn't see it for myself and I actually just went with that and said, no, I'll forget about the whole thing, I would have gone with that. And so you don't give these guys ammunition. That's all they're looking for anyway. Right? So we're good.
No, we're not
one. We know who's right. We know who's wrong.
Not good, but clearly we've beaten this dead horse again and again. And I just want to make sure so we don't start getting hate mail. Once again, I don't disagree that there's some characters who have, who have been given superpowers over others or intelligence that it doesn't make a lot of sense currently. I don't agree with the whole progression that you have to first be start. As Kyle described, I think it's nuts. This is the day and age of producers and TV and directors and companies, and they're going to put whoever they want and sell to whatever market they want, however they want. Well, if you don't wish to watch it, you don't watch it. As simple as that. At the same time, you don't have to destroy people's characters that they liked a lot just to make some other character look even better. But then again, they do this all the time. I mean, I look at the X-Men comics now, the whole Krakatoa run, and I'm like, gee, you wish, man. What the hell happened? So I mean, hey, to each their own. You can pick your spots here or there.
Well, I mean, the hard part is if you turn it around, and I don't like it when I see, to the same instance when you see Mark Miller on Ultimate X-Men, and then basically Wolverine, they do a simulation and show Wolverine basically can kill everyone in one day. Like basically when it's first meeting them, the X-Men will be finished, and then okay, Cyclops has this fear in the what's the name of him, and then when they fight and Wolverine jumps at it and leaps to him and say, "You're Cyclops with your glasses, and I'm leaping to you. Are you afraid, or are you looking at someone with your weapon that you could just shoot at him?" But they had a scene where he jumps at him and he's like, and Professor Xavier stops him. It's like it's eyesight. It's like unless he took somehow took out the visor or something like that he did nothing to do against it. But that type of writing is the style, but it's even worse than the Wolverine thing and sitting around and saying, "Here's Moon Girl, and she's the smartest person in Marvel." And how do we know? No, we know Reed Richards is the smartest person because in comparison to stuff that Tony Stark did, which was basically fortify everything at Shield, like the what's the name? Reed Richards has the radical cube, finding the negative zone, all this other cool stuff that he did, like basically, going into these other dimensions before anyone else did. And that's different from the stuff you see, which is tech that Tony Stark is giving to Shield and basically fortifying the arms in the Marvel universe. So this is just a shorthand, but you never sit around saying, "Hey Tony, that was pretty smart." "Yeah, Reed, that was smart of you too." Like, "Hey Hank, that was pretty brilliant. I like that one." Like that's
Reed Richards. Reed Richards is the smartest man in every universe, in the Marvel universe. He literally has the Council of Reeds.
Oh gosh, it's
it just like, okay, we're gonna throw Moon Girl in here. Hey, how about let her do something first before you want to establish how smart she is?
And just get rid of Moon Boy like he's nothing. It's like we got rid of Moon Boy like he's nothing. We got okay. And ultimately, Devil Dinosaur is barely a character in the story with Moon Girl. So much is about her. At least the one I read, which was just like, well, how do you factor in this dinosaur? It shouldn't it just be her, riding the dinosaur, not her being a tech person doing the thing. I think they're going against type, so they had a black character being this smart, and then you also have Riri, which they're saying, and I think someone was also pointing it out. It's like when you have the black characters, as a black girl saying it, and she was like, you have these black characters that are geniuses, but at the same time, when they say they're geniuses, no one can believe it. When did you do this? What? What? How long? How long did it take you? Oh, really? It's like, why is it totally unbelievable if that's the case, if they're genius? Nope. You got to establish that. But that's basic storytelling where you're like saying, make it seem like it's bigger than it is because it's just basic lines of dialogue that's kind of hard to really show that stuff. But then it's kind of like, I want to say, like kind of Tarantino sort of setup where we just kind of have someone say something and then we call it back later. And then we like, oh, that's storytelling. Like, no, that's just some lines of dialogue. So, anyway, so we said we were going too long. You wanted to close it out, right?
Cool.
You're all pissed off at us again.
Not pissed off.
Sound a little pissed off.
Not pissed off.
You look very unhappy.
I'm not looking unhappy. I'm smiling.
The grit.
It's a forced smile.
So is there anything else you guys want to point or falsehoods you guys want to spread before we stop?
Don't feed the hate machine. Reed Richards, smartest man in the Marvel universe. Still on board to see what comes down the pike, but man, get it together. Yeah, get it together. Phase 4, you guys really squandered a lot of the goodwill that you built up in the first 3 phases.
Okay, Petey.
I'm done. I'm good. I mean, I established as much as I can about the MCU, and I just think stick to what you can do, which is not just merely go to this semi-progressive thing, and have fun with it. Not spend their time checking boxes, saying, "Hey."
Okay. Thanks, everybody. If you like this episode, give us a thumbs down or up Please write a
You like
comment.
it? Thumbs up.
I just said thumbs down or up. Okay.
Oh, you like it? Oh my god.
Okay. Comment, subscribe. Spin a rack.
Out.
Out.